afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this council meeting of the 21st of January 2025 at the Aroa Conference Centre. I'm Scott Jeffrey, Deputy Mayor of the Strathbogie Shire Council, and I'll be chairing today's meeting. Our Mayor, Councillor Claire Hewitt-Kennedy, is unwell today, so we wish the Mayor all the best in her recovery. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the places we live, work and play. We recognise and respect the enduring relationship they have with their lands and waters. We pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. Today we're meeting on the lands of the Taungurung peoples of the Eastern Kulin Nation, whose sovereignty here has never been ceded. This public meeting is being streamed via our website under Council Meetings Strathbogie Shire and made available for public access on our website along with the official minutes of this meeting. All care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, it's assumed that your consent is given in the event that your image is broadcast to the public. It's also assumed that your consent is given to the use and disclosure of any information that you share at the meeting, including personal or sensitive information, to any person who accesses those recordings or minutes. Item 4, Governance Principles. Council considers that the recommendations contained in this agenda gives effect to the overarching governance principles stated in Section 9, Part 2 of the Local Government Act 2020. These principles are numbered 1 to 9 on page 4 of the agenda. If a meeting is open to members of the public or is being live streamed, voting on any matter may be by any method resolved by Council that enables those in attendance and those watching a live stream broadcast to clearly see which way Council has voted at the time the vote is taken. In the absence of a Council resolving an alternative method, voting on any matter is by show of hands. How the meeting will work. We welcome the people in our public gallery and also those viewing this meeting through our live stream on the website. This meeting is being held in accordance with Strathbogie Shire's governance rules. If we have technical difficulties during today's meeting, which means we're unable to stream the proceedings to the public, we'll continue with the meeting given the public gallery is open. If a councillor or officer has a conflict of interest in a matter, they'll be asked to leave the meeting and no discussion on the matter will commence until we are sure they have done so. The person will then be contacted to rejoin the meeting after the matter has been considered and the vote concluded. The public gallery is reminded that this is a public meeting and we respectfully ask that all attendees remain quiet and courteous during the meeting. Item 5. Apologies and leaves of absence for today's meeting. We have Mayor Councillor Claire Hewitt-Kennedy and Michelle Harris, Interim Media and Communications Manager. Item 6, disclosure of interests. Councillors, I will take all papers as being read. That being the case, are there any disclosures of conflict of interest?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Deputy Mayor Jeffries, I just would like to declare a conflict of interest in item 15.1, Chief Executive Officer Recruitment. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO Tamlin. Any others? Thank you. We'll move on to item 7 on page 5 of the agenda. Confirmation of minutes decisions of the ordinary council meeting held on Tuesday, 10th of December, 2024. Councillors, we have a recommendation. Can I have a motion, please? And can you state what your motion is?
I move. Council meeting on December 10th be confirmed as true and accurate of the meeting. Sorry. Yes.
Councillor Carlson, could you repeat that, please? For the...
Yes, I move that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 10th of December 2024 be confirmed as true and accurate record of the meeting.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Holloway. Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Thank you, councillors. I'll put the motion to the vote. Those in favour? Motion carried. Moving on to page 6, item 8, petitions. A petition has been received by council on the 17th of December 2024 from Greg Rowe of Euroa, requesting council support for extended utilisation of the Euroa swimming pool, utilising a group of volunteers to support extension of the operating hours. The petition contains 18 signatories and a redacted copy of the petition is attached in the agenda. Councillors, we have a recommendation. Can I have a motion, please? And can you state what the motion is? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to make the motion as per the recommendation that Council number 1 receive and note the petition in relation to council support for extended utilisation of the Euroa swimming pool through the utilisation of a group of volunteers. And number 2, that the petition be referred to the Director, Community and Planning for consideration and response, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Binks. Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Stevens.
Just very briefly, I'd just like to thank the community for their interest in this particular matter and, as I said, receive their petition on their behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Those in favour? Motion carried. Item 9 is the Mayor's report. And it will be very brief for me, given the very short time frame I had to prepare myself for this meeting in the Mayor's absence. A few very short words, though, is that I hope everyone had an opportunity to take some time off over the Christmas break. I'm very energised coming back into the start of the year and the first council meeting for 2025. And I look forward to working with all of you and council staff for this year. It's going to be a busy but exciting chapter in Strathbogie Shire's future. Moving on to item 9.1, councillor reports. Are there any councillors who would like to make a brief verbal report to the meeting? Councillor Holloway.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to report that over the past several weeks, several councillors, including myself and yourself, have been engaged in a deep dive review of the Shire's budget to include projected spend for the next year and actual trends of spending over the past 4 years. We are doing this in order to assist with creating a strategic framework in which to assess operational spend for the upcoming mid-year review, the upcoming 2025-26 budget, which is just around the corner, and future budgets. I have been extremely impressed with the level of engagement and cooperation in this process as extended by council staff, specifically our CEO, Manager, People and Governance, and CFO. It goes without saying that good strategy can only be crafted where a detailed, granular knowledge of the landscape is present, and I believe we are doing so in this effort. We've already found quite a few detailed budgetary cost and revenue areas where possible efficiencies or synergies may be achieved, and we'll look to work these out in the future. Over the upcoming weeks and months, we expect to work hand in hand with staff to realize some positive outcomes. And I believe that the efforts we expend will be a positive one and that we will achieve better budgetary outcomes going forward into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Holloway. Is there any other councillors like to speak? No? Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 10, public questions. CEO Tamlin, are there any questions from the public?
Yes, Deputy Mayor Jeffrey, there's a number of questions today. We have two submitters. The first set of questions comes from Mr. Tom Marr, and the first question is as follows. The Shire was formed in November 1994, and now 30 years later, in November 2024, what has the Shire achieved? Thank you for your question, Tom. There's been many achievements by the Strathbogie Shire Council over the last 30 years. A summary of these achievements are included in the annual reports that are made publicly available to the community each year. Copies of the annual reports back to the year 2014 to 2015 are available on Council's website. So I would suggest that that would be a good place to start to get a really good handle on what the achievements made by the Strathbogie Shire Council are for the last years going back. We have a second question also from Mr. Marr, goes as follows. Weekly Times article of Jeff Kennett talking of what was and to be from amalgamated councils. A fresh look at local council, I believe it's titled. The question is this Shire to move to another council, a new amalgamation, question mark. And thank you again for that interesting question. I'm sure you would appreciate that this is a matter for the state government as set out in the Local Government Act 2020. To my knowledge, this is not currently being considered by the state government. So thank you for that. Our second questioner today, person submitting questions, is Marie Marr, who is joining us online. So Marie, if you're able to come online there, and Marie has elected to read her questions out herself, unless Marie, you might have changed your mind. You want me to do it?
No, it's fine, Tim. You can read the questions out. That's good. Thank you.
No worries. My pleasure. So question one is around the council pools. The first question is, what is the cost of the Belgravia Leisure located in Bayswater running our pools? And I can respond as follows. At the June 2024 council meeting, council endorsed Belgravia Health Leisure Group Proprietary Limited for the management and operation of council's 4 aquatic centres for the 2024-2025 season at a cost of $452,839 excluding GST. Now moving to Marie's second question, which relates to roads. Why are all our roads still a wreck and ruin from over 15 years of asking for council to maintain them, and also the high grasses along them? And I can respond as follows, Marie. Council sets its asset management plans and manages its roads infrastructure depending on various factors, which include traffic volume. And this then dictates the level of service each of these roads gets, which of course relates to the intervention standards. This is in our road management plan, and you can find that on our website. So if those standards are not being met, we encourage people to let us know if they see a road defect and the like, and then council can undertake the works to rectify the matter. I would encourage you to bring to council any matter of concern so we can investigate and action as appropriate. And that could be done by lodging a request to our customer service team in person, by telephone or online, which of course online you can do 24/7 hours a day. Thank you for raising these matters with council. And Marie, thank you for joining us online today. And as I'm not sure if my staff have caught up with you, but you'll be leaving the live stream there now, but you can always watch the live stream on your computer as well. But thanks very much. Good day. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That concludes our questions.
Thank you, CEO Tamlin. Moving on now to page 9 of the agenda, item 11.1.1, planning applications received and planning applications determined 1st of November to the 3rd of December 2024. The purpose of the report is to report to Council on the current planning application activity and matters considered under delegation. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? Councillors, we have a recommendation. Can I have a motion, please? And can you state what your motion is? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. The motion be as per the recommendation that Council number 1 receive this report, and number 2, note that there were 17 new planning applications received and 18 planning applications decided on from November the 1st to the 3rd of December 2024. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Stevens. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Carlson. Is there any opposition? Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Chair. Just very quickly, as we know, Strathbogie is a growing shire, and one way of informing the community about how it's growing and what's eventuating are these types of reports. So if anyone is interested in that, I encourage them to look at these documents. They are available online. And also in the agenda. So good information to see how our shire is transforming as we're growing. So information for the community should they choose to seek it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Councillor Carlson, as seconder, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, Mr. Chairman, it's an information item, but it does keep the community up to date to a degree on terms of the development of the Shire. And it's good to see that there is activity continuing, but we'd like to obviously see a bit more of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. Do any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? That being the case, we'll put the motion to the vote. Those in favour? Motion carried. We move now to page 14, item 11.2.1, Longwood for the Love of Ale Festival 2025 event grant application. The purpose of this report is to approve the event grant application from Longwood Football Netball Club to the value of $5,000 to support the delivery of the For the Love of Ale Festival 2025. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? We have a recommendation. Can I have a motion, please? And can you state what your motion is? Councillor Holloway.
I move the recommendation that Council 1 approve the event grant application from Longwood Football Netball Club to the value of $5,000 to support the delivery of the For Love of Ale Festival 2025, and number 2, work with grant recipients to reduce overall waste produced at the event through the implementation of the objectives of both the Waste-Wise Events Policy and Sustainable Strathbogie 2030 in being a zero waste shire. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Carlson. Is there any opposition? No opposition. Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Holloway.
Thank you, Chair. I just think that this is indicative of one of the ways in which the Strathbogie Shire Council is returning value to our community. I believe that this was hung up in a technicality for a while, but we've worked it through. And events like this are a great asset to our shire, and I think it's extremely important that council supports such events. Thank you.
As seconder, Councillor Carlson, do you wish to speak?
Oh, only to say that Longwood's a very, it's a small but very active community, and it's great credit to them that they've persevered through what was an unfortunate set of circumstances, but the situation has been rectified, so we wish them every success.
Thanks, Councillor Carlson. Do any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Halsell.
I think it would be great if the success of this event managed and supported by Longwood community and then the greater municipality was duplicated in other areas. It is an example of tourism. It's improving our economic development, and I would try and encourage as many people or as many small groups as possible to continue to hold events.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak to it? Councillor Stevens.
Enough. Thank you. Just very quickly, I think it's worth noting that with this particular application, the amount that was requested was $5,000. There's a cash contribution of $4,754, and then there's an in-kind contribution of $246. And I think it's just worth noting that community groups run these events, which is absolutely fantastic, and council are trying to assist them in the ways that they can, because it puts us on the map, it brings economic benefit to the community as well as social connection. But sometimes the simplest of things, or what seem to be the simplest of things, still have a cost to them. And it might be the provision of bins. And I'm assuming that that's what that $246 is for, because the bins have to be provided, they have to be collected, and there is a cost, and then they have to be deposited into the system, and there is a cost to that. So I think it's just a good point to make to the community that the in-kind contribution does have a cost, but it's a cost that on this occasion council are prepared to offer up to assist in hopefully a successful event. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Stevens. Are there any other speakers on this motion? No, that being the case, we'll put the motion to the vote. Those in favour? Motion carried. Moving on now to page 19, item 11.4.1, determination of a committee representative on the Goulburn Murray Climate Alliance, GMCA. The purpose of this report is to appoint a councillor representative to the Goulburn Murray Climate Alliance. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? No, councillors, we have a recommendation. Can I have a motion, please? And can you state what your motion is?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I move the following recommendation: that Council 1 appoints Councillor Holloway as the council representative on the Goulburn Murray Climate Alliance until November the 2025, and 2 appoints Councillor Halsell as the council substitute representative on the Goulburn Murray Climate Alliance until November 2025.
Thanks, Councillor Carlson. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Stevens.
I second that motion. Thank you. And there's nominations. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any opposition? No. As there's no opposition, does any councillor wish to speak to the motion?
Only to say, Mr. Deputy Mayor, that this is a group which has, I think, 13 council membership, a membership of 13 councils, and we've been a member for some time, and it's imperative, I think, that we remain connected as part of that network. But I'm sure that Councillor Holloway, after his first meeting, will be able to provide us with a much more detailed briefing as to the purpose and function of this group. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stevens, do you want to speak to the motion?
Just very quickly, as Councillor Carlson has already said, there are many representatives of a number of shires on this particular committee, and we would be negligent not to be represented and not to have a voice at the table. And I'm sure Councillor Holloway will represent us exceptionally well, and we look forward to the information brought back to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any other speakers? Councillor Halsall.
We make a contribution of $4,000. Well, it started at $4,635, and each year it's been indexed. So it would be nice to know and to be part of where the money's going.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? I now put the motion to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried. Moving on now to page 21, item 11.4.2, Audit and Risk Committee Annual Committee Performance Report, January 2024 to December 2024. Purpose of this report is to receive and note the Strathbogie Shire Council Audit and Risk Committee Annual Committee Performance Report from January 2024 to December 2024. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? Councillors, we have a recommendation. Can I have a motion, please? And can you state what that motion is? Councillor Holloway.
I move the recommendation that council receive and note the Strathbogie Shire Council Audit and Risk Committee Annual Committee Performance Report from January to December 2024.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Halsall. Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? No? Thank you. I put the motion to the vote. Those in favour? Motion carried. Councillors, we now move to item 11.4.3 on page 48 of the agenda. Contracts, works, variations and grants awarded under Delegation 21, November 2024 to 31st of December 2024. The purpose of the report is to detail any contracts, works or grants that have been awarded under delegated authority by the interim CEO, a director or a manager within their approved financial threshold. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? No. Councillors, we have a recommendation. Can I have a motion, please? And can you state what your motion is? Councillor Halsall.
I would like to move a motion I would like the recommendation as printed on page 48 to become a motion.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Binks. Is there any opposition? No. As there's no opposition, does any councillor wish to speak to the motion?
I think it's worthwhile noting that we're nearly at the end of the Violet Town landfill rectification works. Additional funds of $50,000 were required by the EPA, so it's outside of our control. We have appointed a recruitment agency, which is great for a new CEO, and the other stuff. They're just small ticket items, so I think it's nice to be getting to the end of the Violet Town landfill rectification works.
Thank you. Councillor Binks, a seconder. Would you like to talk to the motion? No. Are there any other councillors that wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Holloway.
I would just like to note that normally I would expect this council to be extremely hawkish on policing contract variations. There is one contract variation contained in this bundle. However, it relates to a variation regarding, as mentioned before, our ongoing commitment to the EPA. which is unavoidable. So this is a contract variation that we have very little power to police, change, reject, or anything else. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further speakers? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. Just very quickly, we're often asked, where does the money go in council? And I think this is another informative report just to show where the money goes. So it's a good one to have a look at every now and then just to see what we have to attend to by legislation, usually. So, yeah, I recommend the report as a good reading report for information. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. There being no further speakers, I now put the motion to a vote. Those in favour? Motion carried. Moving now to page 55 of the agenda, item 11.4.4, record of informal meetings of councillors, December 2024. The purpose of this report is to note the record of informal meetings of councillors from the 29th of November 2024 to the 31st of December 2024. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? No. Councillors, we have a recommendation. Can I have a motion, please? And can you state what our motion is? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. I would like to move the motion as per the recommendation that council notes the record of informal meetings of councillors. This is for the period of the 29th of November 2024 to the 31st of December 2024. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Halsell. Is there any opposition? No opposition. Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. Once again, a great report for transparency, as well as being asked, where does the money go? We're often asked, what do councillors do? So this is just a little bit of insight into all the meetings that we attend and why we're there. So some of them might be briefings. For example, on the 3rd of December, we had briefings from the Inland Rail. Another one was we had discussions around our community vision and our council plan, which is a really important documents that we're currently pulling together with consultation with the community, school crossings. So I think, once again, it's just a really good way to let the community know how we spend our time and what we discuss and what we do. So I recommend it to the community for reading. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Halsell.
I think of interest to me is that as a group, we collectively decided to pause or halt catering for these meetings and actually spend our own money down the street and make the walk down to Binney Street and share the support, I guess, of the local cafes. We will have to make lunch on time because last time we went down there, everything was closed at 2 o'clock and Fair Enough was the only one that stayed open. So I think it's important for the community to note that we are trying very hard to manage the spend within and limiting all said perks completely.
Back to item 12 with my microphone on. I didn't turn it off. Thank you. Item 12, notices of motion, there are nil. Item 13, notices of rescission, there are nil. Item 14, urgent business, nil. Moving on now to item 15, confidential business on page 63. Item 15.1, Chief Executive Officer Recruitment. I declare the following item, Chief Executive Officer Recruitment, to be confidential in accordance with Section 66, Part 2A and Part 1, Section 3, Definitions of the Local Government Act 2020. Clause F, personal information being information which, if released, would result in the unreasonable disclosure of information about any person or their personal affairs. This ground has been applied to this matter as it relates to the Chief Executive Officer's recruitment, and I've authorised a confidential business certificate, which is also an attachment to today's agenda. Councillors, we now require a motion to close the meeting to the public. Councillors, we have a recommendation on page 63. Can I have a motion, please? And can you state what your motion is?
Mr Deputy Mayor, I move that Council, in conformance with Section 62-2A and the definitions for confidential matters under Part 1, Section 3, Definition of the Local Government Act 2020, the Act, resolve to close the meeting to the public to discuss Chief Executive Officer recruitment.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. Is there a seconder? Councillor Stevens. Thank you, councillors. I'll now put the motion to the vote. Those in favour? The motion is carried. Could relevant staff and the public please leave the chamber? And could the live streaming please cease? Thank you and welcome back. The live streaming of the meeting to the public recommenced at 4:51 p.m. Confirmation of confidential business decisions. Councillors, there is a recommendation on page 64 of the agenda. This is to ratify the decisions made by council in camera. Councillors, can we have a recommendation? We have a recommendation. Can I please have a motion? And can you state what your motion is?
I move, Mr Deputy Mayor, that the motion read that the decision made in camera be ratified by council.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. Is there a seconder? Councillor Holloway. I now put motion to the vote. Those in favour? Thank you. The motion is carried. For the minutes of this meeting, Council is about to commence the recruitment process for a permanent Chief Executive Officer. Advertising will commence soon with the support of an external recruitment agency. Recruiting a permanent CEO is one of the most important priorities and decisions for the new council, and we look forward to working with an inspirational lead who will champion our community and ensure delivery of our strategic plan. The next ordinary meeting of Strathbogie Shire Council is scheduled to be held on the 18th of February 2025 at the Aroa Community Conference Centre, commencing at 4 p.m. There being no further business, the meeting is closed at 4:52 p.m. Thank you very much.